What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hometown Commander. I'm your host, Mikey, and with me, as always, is not actually anybody, but some energy. Hey, just remember, you can go to rogueenergy.com to go get 10% off your entire order, and I'm going to sip on some myself. That is, as Millsy would say, jammy. No, he is not, taking a hiatus. I'm actually taking the time that I have personally to actually do something for the YouTube channel. So I have the time to do a deck tech. I'm going to do that right now, and we're just going to walk through my version of a deck tech. So I am going to tell you guys how we're going to do this. We're going to talk about how I built the deck. We're going to talk about how some games went that I've already played with. So I've already played this deck. I had the chance to play 4 games with our last group meeting. We're going to talk about some cards that I liked while playing those games, and we're going to talk about what cards I already took out after the games. 4 games with a commander deck, I think, is a good amount of number to see what you can really do with it, and maybe some little bit of alterations. I literally have changed 3 cards since 4 games. So that's what we're going to do. So I have here today, I have Jasmine Boreal of the 7. Now, you're already probably sitting there thinking, Mikey, this card is illegal. It's not even out yet. 'Tis true. But I like this commander so much that I was like, I have to build this deck. I have to see how this works. And I will possibly throw up a picture of how I actually use this card as my commander. I actually, instead of printing a proxy out or anything like that, I said forget about it, and I'm just gonna draw. I'm gonna draw Jasmine Boreal or Boreal of the 7, and it was fun. It was a cool little experience. I try my best to do something quirky like that with our group. It keeps it fun, it keeps it lively, and I think it really brings down the serious level, and I think that really helps out a lot. So we are going to talk about how I built this deck. Well, first off, obviously, Jasmine Boreal in her abilities. She is, as you can see, a 2/4, a 2 power, 4 toughness for 1 colorless, 1 group of Selesnya, that's green and white, 4. A legendary human druid. You can tap her, add 1 green, 1 white, that's 1 Selesnya group, to spend this mana only to cast creature spells with no abilities. Cool, so we need creatures with no abilities, right? Right. So creatures you control with no abilities also can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. So with that little alteration already, her ability right there, what we found out on Monday is that most of the time, if I am playing vanilla creatures, which I might be, they can be blocked by creature tokens, right? But here's the fun thing is what we learned, you can actually get that damage to go through if your opponent has decayed zombies, or if your opponent has given his or her creature tokens vigilance, first strike. Those are abilities. So it was an interesting little experience Friday. I really, really enjoyed playing this deck, but how I built this deck was even more fun, I think. I've always liked the vanilla creature archetype. I don't know why. We have a commander in mono green called Ruxa, Patient Professor, a 2 colorless, 2 green for a 4/4 legendary creature bear druid. Gotta love them bears. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you can return a target creature from your graveyard to your hand that has no abilities. It also says that creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1. And because they just needed to add more wonderfulness to vanilla creatures, they said, you know what? You may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they weren't blocked. That is just so much for vanilla creatures just in mono green. But now we have an incredible Selesnya commander, and if you like Selesnya, then I think you'll like this deck a lot. And I really just started going through and started looking first at vanilla creatures that gave me value for the amount of mana that I'm putting in. So what I mean by that is most of the time when you look at a creature for a creature based deck, you're looking at its power and toughness, its mana cost for that power and toughness, but is that mana cost going to be enough for its ability? So like if we look at Ruxa, that's a creature that you're looking at for an example. Or even better, Toski. Toski, Bearer of Secrets, is in this deck because I'm going to be doing a lot of damage, right? So Toski is a 4 mana cost 1/1 squirrel that has like 4 lines of text, correct? So it's like this spell can be countered, indestructible. That is a lot of value out of 4 mana. That's usually what you're looking at. So for something like this style of deck, for a vanilla style where I'm like, okay, I can't have any abilities, where's my value going to come from? So that's going to come from stuff like paying 0 cost for 1, or for a 1/1. That's value. I don't have to pay anything and I get a 1/1. That's awesome. Or I'm paying 2 mana for 3 1s. I have, and I cannot stress this enough, it is hilarious, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Is that it? I have 12 creatures that are 2 cost, but they give me 3 power. That's a great value right there already. That is Walmart great value if I've ever seen. So that's what I was really looking for. What low cost, or not low costing, but what cost creatures or mana cost creatures are giving me more power out of the front load of it all. So I mean, you look at like Ancient Broadodon is a 9/9 only for 8. So I'm paying 8 mana, but I'm getting 9 power out of it. That's amazing. The biggest one out of all of them, of course, is Gigantosaurus. You're only paying 5 green for a 10/10. Imagine swinging this 10/10 straight into somebody's face, and the next turn that it comes down, it really, really throws people off because they're like, I'm sorry, that's a 10/10. Okay, cool. But then you're telling me that I can't block it. Ouch. And it's really interesting to see the interactions with these, what seem to be on the surface very plain creatures, but can really, really pack a punch. So what I wanted to also do was help them out. So we want to help our creatures out by giving them abilities, right? Absolutely not. Because we're not worried about abilities. What we were worried about is stuff like yum yum, Beastmaster Ascension. This card right here was a huge help, and it's a huge help in a lot of decks. But here I think it helps out even more. So giving your creatures +5/+5 as soon as you swing with 7 or more creatures is huge, which we already did because, like I already said, I have 12, 2 costing 3 power creatures. I had plenty of that to go in and just wipe somebody out, and that, my friends, is a huge, huge value. Just for 3 mana to give my creatures +5/+5 is great. So what a lot of people really should kind of pay attention to with Beastmaster Ascension is it is a target when it comes down. So be wary that when you play this card, people are going to look at you as probably threat level enemy number 1. So what you probably can try to do is do something kind of like I did. I looked at my creatures. I had 7 creatures, and I knew that they could all swing. So I looked at the play line. I looked at where my best options were, and I knew that I was going to have to take somebody out that turn. So I played Beastmaster Ascension, swung in, got the triggers. Nobody had a response, and we moved in for the win. And that was where I realized, okay, Beastmaster Ascension is like a Triumph of the Hordes. It's like a Enrace Forerunners. It's like a I can never remember this name because I hate it so much. It's like the giant beast boy that gives everything. Millsy's listening to this and he's like, I hate you. You know the card. I see it. Craterhoof Behemoth. There it is. It's another ender. It's a game ender, and I think that's what's awesome. So I went through though, and I looked at some other stuff that are like this, like Anthems wise, right? Gaia's Anthem. I also put in Glorious Anthem because you gotta have both. I put in a card like Path of Bravery. I think is really, really good to kind of keep your life total up, because we are going to want to swing a lot. What are we getting on the crackback, you know? Do we want to pay attention to that? We do. So I also added things like Sandworm Convergence. It's an 8 mana costing enchantment. Now I know this card is very, very expensive, but the value I think pays off a lot. It says creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. Now we were playing up against a deck that had dragons at one point, and I was hoping this card was like on top somewhere, and it was not, and I was like freaking out because I was like, there's nothing I can do here. even if I keep creatures back to block, like we're done for. But a great card for those situations where you're like, I need some protection. Mirari's Wake. This card is a huge addition to this card, to this deck. One, it ramps you in a way that you really don't see coming. I actually had this card in my hand for 2 turns longer than I needed to in one game, and I wish I would have put it down faster. I think the game would have ended faster, and I think I would have pushed the limit of everybody at the table a lot faster. It is a great card. I know it's a great card, but just seeing it in person and seeing what it can do in such a strange little archetype is great. Giving your creatures +1/+1 is a bonus because now my creatures are hitting harder, but getting that ramp from the mana that it adds to everything, oh, that is bonkers. I like the ramp that I do have. I went with the spell ramp. I went with Farseek, Nature's Lord, Kadama's Reach. You also have Jasmine as your ramp. The thing that I tried to do the most, though, was use Jasmine as kind of like a Beastmaster Ascension, a game ender. I'm like, let me set up my board with 4 or 5 creatures and then bring Jasmine in, swing in, do some crazy damage. A card that I thought was really cool here was Aura Mutation. 1 green, 1 white, destroy target enchantment, and then create X 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens, where X is that enchantment's mana value. Fun fact, creature tokens that don't have any abilities are creatures that have no abilities. And they can still be swung in for damage, and they were used very well. I loved utilizing the differences in like having them, because a lot of people were like, what are these? And I'm like, they're 1/1s, and they were like, cool, can I block them? I'm like, no, because they still have no abilities. And I thought that was really cool to see that. One of the cards that I think will be a lot of fun, I didn't get to use, and I'm really excited to use, is Leonin Sun Standard. For 2 mana, all your creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. So we just dump like 6 mana into this. Now all my creatures are +3/+3, or even better, we dump like 10 mana and all my creatures are +5/+5, like Beastmaster Ascension, and then now I'm doing a huge amount of damage. And we can get there for sure. We're playing in green. Ramping green is very easy. So what we did here for this, we looked for simple ramp, which we got. We looked for vanilla creatures, which we got plenty. We looked for anthems of how we can pump them up, and then we looked for ways to continue to push the pressure. So I already showed Toski, great card. I drew a bunch of cards off of him. I at one point had him, and then I even had a Beast Whisperer out like 2 turns beforehand, and I drew a ton of cards. And it all was just working in my benefit. Those 2 cards were great. So the one problem that we had, and this is where I changed some things, was the crackback. So what I mean by that, if you don't know what crackback means, is when you swing in, do some damage, and then you're like, cool, now I feel like a really awesome superhero, and you're like, wait a minute, you have an 8/8 and another 8/8 and a 5/5 and a 6/6, and I can't block any of them. What am I gonna do? So that's the crackback. So here I wanted to see what I could do to kind of limit the crackback. So I already put in a wonderful card called Sphere of Safety. I already knew I was going to have over 10 enchantments. I feel like this card was going to be pretty helpful in a bunch of scenarios, but I did not have a card like Ghostly Prison, which I think is even better here, because it's cheaper for 1. For 2, I think the value is just a little bit better, especially if I don't have any enchantments moving forward. So I added Ghostly Prison. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature he or she controls. So this really limits what people can actually swing at me, or how they want to do their play lines if they swing at me. I don't know why, but I did not have a board wipe, so like Vanquish the Horde is really good here. I'm okay with my creatures dying because I should be able to rebuild if I play this correctly. If I see that the board is going a lot faster than I am, I can probably get out of a sticky situation by playing this card, getting rid of everything, and then moving in for a good time. I added one extra fog. I added fog. If you know me, I will add Winds of Calcisma into every single deck because this card is way too good for what it does. 2 mana for preventing all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Then if you have a creature with power 4 or greater instead, you can prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures your opponents control. So a one-sided fog is great. Now a one-sided all fog is great, but a one-sided fog where your creature still can do damage is even better. Especially if you can block. This is a great defensive piece. One other card that I added here for crackback protection was literally the dumb card that is Teferi's Protection. Somebody swings in at you, you play this card, and you're like, ha ha ha, can't be touched until my next turn. Which is crazy, but also just really good. I like this card, but I also just really wish it maybe costed 4 mana. Maybe that would bring the whole entire value down, but I don't know. This is one of those cards that I'm sitting here thinking, does it do too much for 3 mana? But hey, as a person who really likes playing fogs, this is a really cool card to add into this deck because, one, I don't have flyers. That's one thing I'm really, really susceptible to, and I can get really punished for. But two, I mean, I'm really trying to be as aggressive as I possibly can. There were times during games where I was really only doing 3 damage because all I had, or not 3 damage, excuse me, like 6 damage because I only had 2 of my 3/1s out. And yeah, that 6 damage continues to pile up over time, but people have already noticed that the deck is going to go off eventually. Get that thing out of here, kind of thing. And it was interesting to see that. Since nobody has Vigilance, one card that I really think is an awesome add here is Throne of the God Pharaoh. It's a legendary artifact for 2 mana, which is nuts. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent in a commander game, it is a multiplayer game. So each opponent is going to lose life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. I mean, even if that's 2, now you're swinging in for 6, and now you're saying, hey, now I'm going to do an additional 2 to you, but now 2 to everybody else as well. These cards like these that have effects that just push you getting value off of your vanilla creatures is just crazy but awesome at the same time. This deck is something I really, really, really enjoy. Wait, I thought I already took out Gideon's Resolve. I didn't. Interesting. Sorry, that was a really random spot. All right, cool. Let's do this right here, right now. I really thought I already took this card out, and I guess I did not. So, Gideon's Resolve says it's 4 colorless, 1 white. When Gideon's Resolve enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Gideon Marshall Paragon. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. And then creatures you control get +1/+1. So it's an Anthem, but it's also going to get a Planeswalker card. I actually took that Gideon out, and I was like, I don't see me actually playing it very well. So I need to actually take Gideon's Resolve out. So we're going to remove it, and then we are going to think of something else to put into it just real quick. So I do kind of want to keep my enchantment number at 13. I think that would be good. So let's just go to our handy-dandy Scryfall here real quick. As you can see, yeah, I do a bunch of magic things here. We'll just look at enchantments. We're going to go boom white, boom green. You got to make sure it's legal in Commander because you don't want to get those uncards that are just hilarious. As much as I would love to play them, I can't. And we're just going to kind of quickly look through. Ooh, Eggs of the Gods. That would be a lot of fun, actually. Giving myself hexproof. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Oh, actually, I kind of like that. Ooh, Johnny's Welcome is not a terrible idea either. We're playing a bunch of creatures. Giving us life is not that bad. Johnny's Mantra is not that good. Not that bad either. We're not looking at huge life gain, but just getting the life gain is just nice. Because that gives us that little bit of extra oomph. Equal to its toughness. Angelic Chorus is pretty good. feel like I want to try the Johnny's Mantra. Just the ability to gain life every turn seems pretty good. It looks down at card, seems decent. We're gonna add it in there for now. We're gonna see how it works, and then we'll see where I can go from there. Mantra. Cool. All right, there we go. We have our mint vanilla deck. I am super excited to continue to play this. I cannot wait until Dominaria comes out to where I can actually get this card and put it in this deck. You guys are really, really awesome. Hope you enjoyed this style of a deck tech. I know I didn't go through every single card, but I did go through what I think are the most important ones. Oh, sorry. Shout out to Alpine Grizzly. Cons of Tarkir is one of my favorite sets. So, anyways, this deck is a lot of fun. It's very simple, but I think it packs a good punch that a lot of people don't realize. And I am really, really excited to continue playing it, and I cannot wait to continue to crush tables with my mint vanilla. Guys, we will catch you in the next video. See you later.